Welcome to everyone watching this video introducing and explaining Jamestown High School's plan to begin the new school year. I'm Mr. Williams, JHS Principal. I'll be talking about the high school's plan in general. I'll be followed by our two assistant principals. Mr. Langworthy will explain our safety and operating procedures. Ms. Smith will then describe and explain our academic plan to begin the school year as well as our schedule. I hope everyone enjoyed their summer and are ready to get back to work. This coming school year promises to be both interesting and challenging. Everyone from school employees to students and families continue to be required to learn and adapt to new systems and ways of doing things. As was the case last year when the COVID-19 pandemic first came about and caused in-person instruction to stop, we're still working at implementing and developing educational plans geared around safety, which will allow us to transition back to all in-person instruction in as soon a time frame as allowable. All decisions that the school does make are based on guidance from the New York State and the Chautauqua County Health Department. And we truly believe that we can and will do everything necessary to make the educational experience of all students safe, first and foremost, as well as academically challenging and appropriate. Our initial phase revolves mainly around having our incoming freshman students here for in-person instruction. Our overall plan will be to monitor and assess on an ongoing basis how things are progressing, with the focus being to bring back other grade levels and courses to the school. We decided on starting with a freshman because the ninth grade year is a major transition year. In most years, we're able to do several orientation activities for potential ninth graders towards the end of their eighth grade year, as well as during the summer prior to school starting. This year, of course, that wasn't possible. Our plan is to get the freshman class into school in small groups so they can comfortably focus on learning our large building, the high school expectations, and get to know our teachers, staff, and all the resources that are available to them. This will allow these things to be in place for the ninth graders by the time our upperclassmen begin to start back in person. While one concern we've heard from parents is why we can't have more students from all grades in person to start the year, it's important to understand and remember our continuous focus on safety. Many of you have probably heard the word cohort lately when hearing about school opening plans. Simply put, a cohort is a small group of students that will be together during the school day to allow us to limit exposure of larger groups of students together. These cohort groups, with students remaining in a particular room for instruction and their teachers coming to them, is the best way to ensure a safe, healthy learning environment. Our assistant principals will go into this in more detail later in this presentation. While I wish personally that we could have every student here at school right from the start for in-person instruction, that's not a responsible way of approaching this plan. Everyone needs to remember, though, that the school year is a marathon and not a sprint. Our plan is to get all students back to school, and in the meantime, all students are going to have to accept the responsibility of their education, whether learning here at JHS or online. During live events held by Dr. Whitaker, our superintendent, I noticed several parents concerned that their child may not succeed with online instruction. One reason being they may not get out of bed to be able to allow their online schedule and access their classes and schoolwork. I'm talking specifically to students now when I say this is unacceptable. Most of you who will be starting the school year learning online are 16 years of age or older. If you can't get out of bed on your own at this point in your life and show some personal responsibility, then this is a lot bigger of a problem. You're living in a day and age where you have access to all the information you could possibly need at your fingertips. Your learning is accessible during the school day with your teachers during online meetings, but also needs to take place beyond that time. The internet gives you millions of ways to learn and take charge of your own education. We also have electronic devices available to every student who requires one. We'll be giving Chromebooks and chargers to students so they will have that advantage. For any students in any grade who are having trouble with Wi-Fi at their home, maybe their connection is unstable, they don't have a place in their home that's conducive to learning, we have our old gym at JHS set up where students can come and do their work. All of your teachers can be reached online, so you can always ask questions and get the help you need. I know many of you want to be back at school in person, but until that happens, you must stay active and involved in your classes and education. There are no excuses. Unlike last year, when this pandemic first came about, students are not going to be moved ahead unless they are working, involved, and completing their work and assignments appropriately. Any students who are responsible and do that, they'll be fine, I guarantee it. Like any school year, though, don't start off by falling behind. Stay on top of things. This is your future we're talking about, and you can all do this. Again, thank you for tuning into this presentation. Your cooperation, understanding, and flexibility with the school is very important and appreciated. Now, here's Mr. Langworthy to talk about our safety protocols and building procedures.
To reopen the school year in 2020, only our freshmen and select students will be returning to school. There's going to be two main groups of students that are re-entering school of our freshmen and those select kids. It's going to be the red group and the green group. Our red group will be students whose last name begins with A through L, and our green group will be students whose last name begins with M through Z. The first day of school is Tuesday, September 8th, and that will be a green day. Students in the red group will go to school on Mondays and Wednesdays for in-person learning, and students in the green group will go to school on Tuesdays and Thursdays for in-person learning, and that is for 9th grade. Grades 10 through 12 will be learning with a distance learning approach to start the school year. When entering the school, we're going to use two different entrances to divide up students. This will allow us to enter the school in a safe and orderly fashion while screening takes place. Students whose last name begins with A through F and M through R should enter school through the main doors right here by the offices at JHS. Students whose last name begins with G through L or S through Z should enter at the pool doors. Once again, last name A through F and M through R should enter through the main doors, and G through L and S through Z should enter at the pool doors. Once again, this is so students can spread out and enter the school while being screened in a safe and orderly way. I'm down here at the pool doors. Remember, students whose last name begins with G through L or S through Z should enter the high school for in-person learning. That means 9th grade and select students through the pool doors. The pool doors are the doors that lead to the hallway that goes by the pool, and these doors are accessible from the parking lot on Foot Avenue.
As Mr. Langworthy stated, we ask that students report to their appropriate door. There will be cones at each door for spacing students at least 6 feet apart. Should we find that a door becomes busy, JHS administrators are prepared to open an additional entrance to the school on an as-needed basis.
To reopen schools, we do have a visitor policy at Jamestown High School. We look to partner with families and stakeholders for the betterment of our students. At times it's necessary that parents, guardians, and stakeholders enter the building. When that happens, we ask that you come to the front doors, use the intercom to connect with our health and attendance clerks in the main office, and once in the building, you'll have to sign in and out and also have to take a health screener. This ensures the safety of our students, staff, and community. Anyone that is going to enter the building must come to the front doors and sign in. That includes parents, community members, stakeholders, or any contractors that visit the building. Our staff looks to partner with families in order to use communication methods outside of face-to-face contact so we can limit the amount of student parents that are in the building. This includes phone calls, remind messages, emails, and any other means necessary to communicate outside of face-to-face contact. But once again, if you do have to visit the school, please come to the front doors, use our intercom, and sign in at the front desk, as well as take a health screener. Thank you. When students enter the building for in-person learning, whether it be at the main doors or the pool doors, they will receive a temperature check screening by one of our trained staff members. This will be done through a non-contact thermometer that will be sanitized after every use. If the student has a temperature of 100 degrees or higher, they will be escorted to an isolation room where they will wait for a health assessment by one of our school nurses. If a student has a temperature less than 100, they are able to go to class and resume their day. All students will be screened and they will be recorded on a record sheet taken by our trained staff members. In the isolation room, after a health assessment, if our nurses believe the student is safe to go to class, then they will resume their school day in class. If not, our medical professionals will contact parents and give advice on next steps.
When students need to use a restroom, they'll be allowed into the restroom one at a time. A staff member will be stationed outside of each restroom to make sure only one student comes in the bathroom at one time. They'll also be recording time in and out for tracing purposes. Our custodial staff will clean the restrooms throughout the day to make sure that they are clean and sanitized. There will only be one pair of restrooms open per floor at JHS to make sure they can be managed by our custodial staff and cleaned throughout the day. All students should wash their hands for 20 seconds prior to leaving the restroom. In addition, to practice proper hand hygiene, there will be hand sanitizing stations around the building, especially at high traffic areas, including the entrance and exit to schools. Again, the most important thing here is that our students wash their hands thoroughly throughout the day, use our hand sanitizing stations, and make sure they wash their hands when they leave the restroom. In the fall, we will not be using our water fountains for any student or adult use. Instead, we have multiple water filling stations throughout the school that students can use to refill water bottles that they bring from home. This is a safe alternative to using our drinking fountain with so many faces coming close to the water bottle, the water fountain opening where the water comes out. So students are allowed to bring their water bottles and fill them up at these refilling stations. This water looks good. I'll be sure to have some when I get a mass break from my teacher. In order to practice social distancing, we will not be using lockers for the fall of the 2021 school year. Therefore, students should come to school with just the basic essentials to start the year. That includes pens, pencils, notebooks, and highlighters. Students will have to have those things with them throughout the day since we are not using lockers. If students have something valuable that they need locked up, it's our recommendation that they contact their homeroom teacher, who can then contact one of our administrative team. In addition, each student at JHS can borrow a school device throughout the school year for distance learning and learning in school on a computer. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to miss having this room packed with 400 students who are loud and hungry. But we are not using the cafeteria in the fall to make sure that we can practice social distancing and to eliminate the most non-social distant period of the day in the cafeteria. We still will be providing meals to all of our students. Our meals will be provided in a to-go format, with students receiving their lunch at the end of the school day at 12 o'clock, and their breakfast for the next day will also be received at that time. So when students leave school, they'll be getting their lunch for the day and their breakfast for the following day at a pickup location at JHS. For students who are learning remotely only, there will still be pickup locations at JHS just as they were last year. But for the fall, we will not be using the cafeteria at Jamestown High School. Social distancing is one of the primary ways to limit the spread of COVID-19. At Jamestown High School, entering and exiting buildings and being in hallways, it's very difficult to social distance. Therefore, entering and exiting the building and in hallways, students must have masks on. Students also are required to have masks on in classrooms unless the teacher gives the direction to take them off. In classrooms, all the desks have been removed except for 12 to allow social distancing to possibly take place. Still, it's up to the teacher to provide mask breaks when appropriate. Students should be able and be prepared to wear masks throughout the school day, unless they have received permission to take them down. This is a non-negotiable at Jamestown High School, and it will be enforced. Wearing a mask and social distancing are the two most key parts to eliminating or limiting the spread of COVID-19. We hope that you understand that wearing a mask is critical, whether it's entering, exiting the building, being in the hallways, or being in class. Once again, it's not necessary that students wear the mask the entire school day, but when taking a mask break, that will be directed from a teacher or adult in the building. At Jamestown High School, all used areas at the school will be cleaned each night by our custodial crew. A documentation log will be used by our custodial crew to make sure all used areas are cleaned and sanitized. On Friday, all learning will take place remote with a distance learning model, so our school can undergo a deep cleaning. All products used by our custodial crew are safe and effective against COVID-19.
Hello, Jamestown High School students and families. My name is Miss Allison Smith, and I'm very excited to be starting this school year as Jamestown High School Assistant Principal. I'm going to be walking you through today what your daily schedule and academic program will look like at JHS to start the 2020-2021 school year. While this school year definitely poses some challenges for all of us, our goal here at JHS is truly to keep you safe and healthy while providing you the best academic program. In order to provide you more information on your academic program, I will be walking you through several slides that explains details of this daily schedule here. It is important to note the letter that was sent home to you this week that describes when you will be coming to school and whether you will be on a hybrid or remote program. This schedule will also be the schedule that all of our BOCES students follow as well. From 8 to 8:30, you will see that there is a homeroom time built in. This 30-minute period is how we are going to provide freshmen with a freshman orientation that they were not able to have due to school closure. This will also give us time to focus on social emotional learning and building relationships with teachers to support the transition from 8th grade to the high school. All students will be assigned a homeroom, and you must report your daily attendance to your homeroom teacher. What this means for 9th graders. On in-person learning days, this attendance will be taken during that 30-minute homeroom block. On remote days, you'll have to report your attendance by 8:30 to your homeroom teacher. For fully remote 9th grade students and all 10th through 12th grade students who will be starting the school year on a remote learning plan, your homeroom attendance will have to be reported to your homeroom teacher by 8:30 a.m. In our schedule, we have day rotations. These days are A, B, C, and D. These rotations will continue every day of this school year. The first day of school is a Tuesday, and it will be an A day. This rotation must continue to ensure that everyone receives the proper amount of instruction for all of their classes. We know this may be confusing to keep track of, so we have created these calendars for each month of the year so that you know what color day it is, which will pertain to in-person or hybrid 9th grade students, as well as what academic day it is. So you'll notice here that Tuesday, September 8th is the first day of school. It is an A day, and our green cohort students will be attending school on that day. Our freshman red cohort students will be doing remote learning, and our 10th through 12th grade students will be doing remote learning as well. So Tuesday, September 8th will be an A day, and you'll see that that rotation continues with the following Monday being an A day. I'll show you at the end of this presentation how to access these calendars for every month on our Jamestown High School website. You'll notice in your schedule that every block is broken into a 40-minute period. These 40-minute classes will continue whether you are in person or remote. I want to draw your attention to this block 3 time. We have it broken down into 2 sections. This is because block 3 in a normal school year is broken into 3 what we call skinny periods, which are 3A, 3B, and 3C. Typically, one of these skinny periods would be your lunch period. Because we are not having lunch at JHS this year, block 3 is being broken into 2 skinny periods which contain classes. For a majority of our students will have a 40-minute class here in block 3 from 10 a.m. to 10:40. However, some students are scheduled for what we call skinny classes during this block 3 time, which would mean that they will have 2 skinny periods from 10 to 10:20 and then 10:20 to 10:40. Your individual teachers will help you understand if their block 3 class is only a 20-minute class or if their block 3 class is a full 40 minutes. You'll notice in the schedule that there is an hour blocked off for lunch. This 12 to 1:05 time will give students who have been in school on their hybrid day time to get home, time to grab lunch and breakfast for the next day at school, and time to get home for remote instruction. It'll also allow students who are on a fully remote program, so that's some 9th graders and then 10th through 12th graders, to come to JHS to a designated location and get a lunch and breakfast for the next day, to get back home and eat their lunch and be ready for afternoon instruction. Our afternoon instruction block has been broken into 20-minute periods over here. Your teachers will schedule 20-minute remote teaching times for their individual classes. During your afternoon instruction time, many things could happen based on your schedule or based on your teachers or your individual needs. Some potentials are teachers will schedule an additional 20-minute teaching period to continue from the instruction that took place in the morning. Teachers may hold office hours for you to ask questions or to drop in online for additional help. You might be completing independent work tasks that were assigned to you in the morning session. You may be continuing more long-term projects assigned by your teacher. This is really dependent on your teacher and what is going on in your individual classes. It's important to note that if a teacher asks you to sign in for a remote learning time in the afternoon, this is something that students are expected to do. On Fridays, all of our students are fully remote so that we can do a deep clean and sanitization of our building. All students on Fridays should report their homeroom attendance by 8:30 a.m. Remote instruction begins at 8:30 for block 1. Your teachers will assign you what this looks like. It could be a Google Meet session, which is like Zoom. It could be completion of posted materials from your teacher. It could be project-based learning or anything that they determine needs to be done for your class. Each period will rotate through at the assigned time for the 40-minute periods, just like Monday through Thursday. There will be a 1-hour lunch break, and then there will be afternoon remote time, just like Monday through Thursday. Attendance is very important. Each day that school is in session, whether you are a remote learner or you are coming to school in person 2 days a week, attendance has to be taken as normal. If you are sick, if you have a doctor's appointment in the middle of the day, please make sure that you're calling our attendance office to report those excused absences. This way we can ensure that teachers are able to keep track of the academic progress of your student and that we know what work needs to be made up because a student would be absent that day. So even if your student is on a remote program, please call our attendance office to report any excused absences due to sickness or doctor's appointments. Our grading policies. Students will be graded based on their understanding of content-specific priority standards. Grades this fall will be numerical. If students are struggling, they should first contact and communicate regularly with their individual teachers. If there's a concern that's not being addressed, your child's principal should be made aware as soon as possible. We do have a system in place for teachers, counselors, and administrators to evaluate the academic programs of students who are struggling for any reason on an ongoing basis. If you feel that your child is struggling, please contact us or your child's teachers immediately. We would like you to know that most of the services that are available during a normal school year are still available here at JHS. Your student will still have access to Strider's tutoring and mentoring, counseling, the Student-Based Health Center, and programs like our JCC Liberty Partnership. Most of these are able to have some on-site activities made by appointment, and most of them can also be done virtually from home. For more information and details on our reopening plan, we encourage you to go to jpsny.org. Once there, go to schools and go down to the high school. When on the high school page, click Resources. This page will lead you to several documents describing our reopening plan. So our phased reopening plan is here, safety protocols, red and green group info, our in-person virtual calendar, this is what I was showing you in the presentation, that are here for every month of the fall. We also have access to the daily schedule that I referenced earlier, as well as distance learning expectations, device distribution plan, maps of the school so freshmen can try to orient themselves, and other reopening documents.
I hope this presentation has answered some of the concerns of our high school students and families. Thank you for watching. We'll continue to put out additional information throughout the coming weeks to keep everyone updated and informed. I speak for myself and everybody at Jamestown High School when I say we're looking forward to having our students come back here as soon as possible in a safe fashion. In the meantime, best wishes to everyone. Stay safe, and thank you.
If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us by email.